up, guys? Welcome to another video. Today we'll be reviewing Star Trek Into Darkness. This one came out in 2013 and was directed by J.J. Abrams and stars Chris Pine and Zachary Quinto. Now, before we start, to like button, subscribe, post notification bell so you never miss a video. Let's just start. Let's start talking about the good. So, all the actors and action in this film are fantastic. Just like the previous film, you have the return of nearly every single character, and they're all very, very good. The opening sequence, I thought it was great. It was basically Captain Kirk, played by Chris Pine, and Leonard McCoy, played by Carl Urban, running from aliens in a red tree forest. And then Spock, played by Zachary Quinto, lands a rock surrounded by lava. He lands on that rock. It looks fantastic, the lava. Kirk and McCoy dive underwater to an underwater ship, and the Enterprise goes after Spock and ends up saving Spock. And that is the entire opening sequence until you get to the title sequence. And I thought it was great. It was a very, very thrilling and exhilarating opening sequence, and it worked very well for this film because it is very fast-paced. The cinematography, which includes the shots, the cameras, the lighting, is fantastic. J.J. Abrams, once again, makes a beautifully looking film because this film looks phenomenal. The first half of the film, I thought it was great. It sets up the new characters well. I enjoyed all of the new performances in this film. They were not bad. They were fine. A lot of them were very, very fun and very enjoyable, and I really enjoyed nearly every new character. There are just a few in there that I didn't really care for, but other than that, I really enjoy the new characters. There's a sequence in the first half of the film, and it is great. It's the first meeting that we see Khan, played by Benedict Cumberbatch. Khan is a fantastic villain. Phenomenal. He is way better than Nero, who is the villain in Star Trek, and he was a very good villain. Benedict Cumberbatch just does a phenomenal job with Khan. He plays one of my favorite villains of the past decade because he's very menacing and very subtle in what he says, and it works because Benedict Cumberbatch delivers every single line perfectly. There's also another great scene where Captain Pike, played by Bruce Greenwood, who is very, very good in this film. He's yelling at Kirk and Spock. Pike tells Kirk that he's not ready to be the captain of the Enterprise because after the first film, while he did, achieve his mission and all that, he was still reckless, and Captain Pike took that away from him. And I thought it worked as a learning lesson and as a relationship building sequence between those two characters. The second half of the film, I thought it was great. It progressed the film well. I cared about what was happening, and it was very fast-paced. There's also a great relationship between Kirk and Captain Pike. Like I said, they have a great relationship in this film. Captain Pike does not think Kirk is ready, and things happen to those characters that you see their relationship growing until, well, I'll get to that later in the review, but until something happens. There's also another great continued relationship between Kirk and Spock. Kirk and Spock have a fantastic relationship as friends in this film. I really enjoyed their relationship and how they didn't like each other in the first film, and then they grew to like each other, and then now they're full-on brothers, and I really, really enjoyed that aspect of this film. There's also an emotional sequence where Khan shoots the Enterprise officer headquarters down, and he ends up killing Captain Pike. This is one of the most emotional sequences in all of the three films that with these new Star Trek films. That is very emotional. That sequence worked perfectly. It was not funny. There was no comedy in that sequence at all. It was very dramatic, and it works very well because Captain Pike, like I said, had a great relationship with Kirk, and it works very well because I thought that Bruce Greenwood played him phenomenally. There's also another emotional sequence where Scotty resigns, played by Simon Pegg. He does resign in this film, and I thought it was fine. I really thought it was emotional because I really enjoyed his character. There's also another great scene where Kirk, Spock, and Iota, played by Zoe Saldana, they're in the ship. Spock tells him that he does not fear death, and he's fine with dying. Kirk and Iota obviously disagree and say it's not an option. That is a great scene because it shows that they actually care about each other, which but that really solidifies their care as friends. There's also another awesome shootout sequence with Kirk, Spock, and Iota versus Khan's men. Fantastic sequence. I really enjoyed it. It was very, very entertaining. It's also a great twist in the film. Marcus is sort of this villainous character now, and he's about to destroy the Enterprise, and I thought it worked as a good twist because things happen to that character that you don't really see coming until that sequence, and I thought it worked very well. There's also a great sequence where Mark, Scotty, and Khan are infiltrating Marcus' ship. Marcus ends up meeting his fate, and Khan kills him by squeezing his head. One of the most brutal sequences in all three J.J. Abrams films. It was brutal. It worked phenomenally because Khan is terrifying in this film. There's also another great scene where Spock sends bombs to Khan's ship. They're armed. He armed them without Khan knowing, and he just blew up the ship. And it shows that Spock is actually very smart, and we know that. But I really enjoyed that because it shows more Spock's character, and he is very, very rebellious in this film. The third act of the film is fantastic. I love the third act of this film. Spock fights Khan on top of a flying ship. Spock just punches him, but he never kills him. Spock punches him until he's about to die, and then he stops because he has stopped. And I thought it worked fantastic. That sequence alone is fantastic. The action, very, very well done. You can see everything. J.J. Abrams does not use shaky cam. He does some shots where he does a close-up on the battle. It works very well because you're able to see everything that's happening. So the third act of the film, fantastic. The score by Michael Giacchino is fantastic. I love the score for Star Trek. Like I said in my previous review, Star Trek, the theme is one of my favorite themes of any film. And this is no different. He takes what he did in Star Trek and makes it very, very similar, but it's very, very well done. And the ending sequence I thought was great. Captain Kirk gives a speech about the Enterprise, and the Enterprise does the space warp, and that is the ending of the film, which I thought was great. And that's all the good I have. Now to move on to the bad. So Kirk dies in this film, and it's not as emotional because he is revealed to be alive in the next scene. So I think if they would have killed Kirk off and left him dead, it would have been emotional. But since he's the main character, of course, he's not going to die. So that was the only bad that I had. Star Trek Into Darkness is a fantastic sequel, and I highly recommend it. And I'm going to give Star Trek Into Darkness an A-. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like button, subscribe, and post notifications for a video. I'm Peter. Thanks for watching.